Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about a prioritization and planning system. And this is the strategy that I teach and I also use myself every single day. So really quickly, if you have no idea who I am, my name is Jenae Spry. I am a growth strategist and productivity expert. I help small business owners, whether they're solopreneurs or have already built a team, grow their businesses by making sure that you're not working 24/7 and you're being prescriptive with your time instead of descriptive. I help them set up processes and systems to make sure that their business runs smoothly and grows steadily without falling into that age-old trap of your business running you instead of you running your business. So if you're wondering how I learned that, it's through running a boutique translation agency, which is how I started. And I pretty much started by making every single wrong decision that there was possible to make. But I was very fortunate in that I have always been really, really, really obsessed with systems. And if you were to ask my mother, she would tell you that as a small kid, I'd rather spend an entire day figuring out the most efficient way to clean my room instead of just jumping in and doing it in an hour. There had to be a system, and in my defense, there was a system. It just took me 8 hours to figure it out. Still, I use that system over and over and over. So if you ask me, I was absolutely right in the way I was thinking about it. But enough about me. Let's get to today's system. So first, I want to talk about goals in general, and they are not all created equal. Okay, so if you give equal effort to every single goal, there's going to be a really good chance that you're dooming your plans before you start. So what I mean by that is, if you're going to plan for next month in the same exact detail as 6 months from now, you're likely going to be very frustrated with your plans. So in other words, the closer the time frame, the more detailed the plan should be. And then likewise, the more distant the time frame, the more general that plan should be. So this is really, really key to how I keep myself sane when it comes to planning out my business. So in terms of accommodating this, we're going to be working backwards. So you need to have a clear vision of your goal or goals. And if you don't have a clear vision or idea of what your goals are, that's okay. Just think about what would be your absolute perfect utopia for your business and then work backwards from your utopia to create those goals. So just make sure you list everything that comes to mind, regardless of whether you think it's realistic. And I want to note something really important here. Whether your goals are to scale your business or they're focused on just a better work-life balance or anything in between, the system is going to work the same. Okay. So first thing is just organize goals according to deadline. So this deadline you set ultimately, right, for yourself. I mean, it's not like there's a deadline out there in the world. But for example, if you thought, I really want to travel the world 8 months out of the year, I want to be a digital nomad, something like that, that goal is going to have a later deadline than something like, I really want to grow my client base for my service business, or I have a client that I need to fire yesterday. Or, I've been thinking of this product. I've got this product going. I already have some things done, but I need to hit the market with it. So regardless, you want to think about the deadline and sort of organize. Are we near future? Are we long-term? Is it someday? Then organize them according to importance to you. So a lot of times when I talk to people about this, they're like, well, they're all important to me. And I get that. So it's okay if nothing jumps out at you. But maybe you have a client that's driving you crazy and you're like, man, I've got to stop working with this business or this person or whatever, right? So you need to fire that client. That might be top of mind. Or, you're launching a new product or your very first product or something like that. And like I said, you're partway through and you're like, okay, we have to check this off. We have to make this sellable right now. And then if any of your goals give you any sort of particular anxiety or stress or overwhelm you, note that, put a little star or something, because it is going to be important. And this, if you're wondering what this might look like, if nothing really jumps out at you, if you're somebody that's been putting off starting a blog or a YouTube channel, but you've wanted to, and you had the idea 4 years ago, but you just it stresses you out to think of topics or ideas. You don't know what tools you need to do the YouTube channel, etc. Then that's when you want to put a star by it, right? So if it just overwhelms you to the point that you just haven't done anything since you had the idea, then there's a really good chance you're in this situation with that goal. Okay, so before moving on, you want to review your list of goals and make sure that you don't actually have any ideas on it, okay? So it's really important to not accidentally put ideas on our task list and on our to-do list and on our goal list. If you do, separate those out. So ideas might be an idea for a blog post topic, for example, which is great. Or, I've had ideas like, oh, I want to add this thing to our website or something like that, right? Section of the website. That's all awesome. You could make a list somewhere, just in a separate place, okay? It just needs to be elsewhere and not mixed in with your actual goals that you're going to move forward and do. So now you should have a list that might have some level of organization to it in terms of your goals, but it's probably still a list of like 200 wishes for your business, and it doesn't have a ton of structure, and that's totally fine. So this is how I choose out of my list of tons and tons and tons of things that I would like to do if I could clone myself 100 times, and start actually planning my next quarter. So which of these goals are decently important to you and also doable? Okay, so important and doable. So this could include like making phone calls that you've put off. Maybe you need to upgrade your computer. It's like really slow, or, a piece of software. You really need to make this a priority. It could also include things like, man, I kind of promised my logo designer that I'd get back to him like 5 weeks ago. Maybe I need to, make that a priority. Or I've been putting off a website. I bought a domain name like 5 years ago. There's no website on it. So the idea is that if I don't get anything done in the next 3 months or the next whatever, I would love to have this thing done. So we're focusing on a quarter right now, but I'm going to explain how this same system works for a month, works for a week, works for a day. But we want to think about, if I don't get anything else done, I want this done, right? Some possibly bad news here. It's very easy to underestimate how much time we have, or how much time we will need in order to achieve goals, and then overestimate how much time we're going to have to give them, right? So we often think that we have more time than we do to accomplish things. So we also need to remember that things happen. And guess what? Things will always happen to derail you. That's just life. That's just business. So if you take nothing away from this video, take this away, please. If you were to go on a diet, guys, or get a financial advisor to help you with your budget, they're going to have you keep a log and track things. And they might even try to put you on a written diet or a written budget that's literally nothing more than a description of what you're already doing. And the reason that the way these people work is to do this, it's because they're trying to move you into being prescriptive with these topics and following a guideline, even if it's what you're already doing, okay? So you wanna do the same thing here. Get in the habit of setting yourself realistic goals that you can actually check off. As you consistently check things off and are in increasingly better control of your goals, whether it's make more money, manage my time better, whatever it is, then the more easily you're going to be able to achieve really difficult goals and handle setbacks like really easily. So if you're absolutely terrible at making to-do lists, guys, and like checking things off, I don't care if you need to put like check email on your list or in your like goals. That's why check email every day. Like that's fine. When you already know that you're somebody that checks email like 14 times a day, that's fine, because it's going to work toward creating this habit of being prescriptive. Okay, so really quickly, as we're moving into this system, we need to talk about this, okay? The worst business decision that you can make is truly no decision. I love this quote by John Peace. The worst decision you can make is no decision. The needs are not going to go away. Waiting is what has gotten us in the situation we're in now. So just think about that for a minute, right? Think about if you could talk to yourself from like a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, right? What goals or projects or tasks do you wish that you had done? If you could talk to that person and be like, do this. Oh my God, I wish I'd done this, right? So would it have mattered so much if you got them in the wrong order, right? By this time, what could you have accomplished if you had just picked a thing, crushed it, and moved on to another one, even if it was like totally the wrong order. So not knowing what to do is one of the top things that seems to paralyze business owners. And if this is you, I totally promise that if you throw all your goals you have, like write them on little pieces of paper and literally put them in a hat and randomly pick one out and do it, and then pick another one after that one's done, and that's your planning process, you will still be better off than if you keep waiting until you have some magical realization of the perfect order of things or some magical huge amount of time to do all of them, okay? Because guess what? Things happen. They do. And if your productivity system does not allow for this, it will not work. I promise you that. Okay, so let's get to it. The system is called 1-3 more. And prioritization is probably the top thing people ask me about on a regular basis. So that's why I'm focusing on this in my first video. So the first thing is to pick no more than a single most important goal. So a goal that you are determined to see done no matter what. And if you don't have anything that makes you feel that way, that's okay, because remember, we can just pick something out of a hat if we have to. But we're going to treat it that way. We're going to treat it like this is come hell or high water, this will be done goal, okay? Next is 3 ideal goals. If these goals don't get done, not the end of the world. And if they get postponed, that's not that big of a deal, okay? So if your most important goal takes a little bit more time than you thought, postpone the ideal goals, no big deal. Next is everything else. So we call them others. So once you accomplish the prioritized goals, then you can start promoting these guys up the ladder. So this system can be used, like I said, to plan your year by breaking it into quarters and then creating a 1-3 more plan for that quarter, for each month, for even a week or a day. So just to visualize this, because I'm a really visual person, this is a visual representation of what that would look like for a quarter. So we have the most important goal, our 3 ideals, and everything else. So the idea is that when you go into the next stage, the next quarter, for example here, the mentality should be that when I plan that quarter, I'm going to assume that the most important goal from the previous quarter is done. Like it's just going to be done, because no matter what, if I have to stay up until the middle of the night, that goal will be done, right? So you want to treat it that way. The ideal goals might be done, be great if they were, might need to find spots with them in the upcoming quarter. And then the others are sort of in the, like, if I'm lucky, if I have extra time kind of goals, but we want to have them there so we can promote them for the times that we do actually have that space, which I know maybe that's never, but you never know. So if you've been planning your business regularly for a long time and this seems really like easy to you and you're like, this is baby stuff, whatever, then, take the same structure and just increase the number of goals, right? So if you want to bet on yourself more, then that's okay to add more most important goals that you're for sure going to have done. But if you're the opposite and this feels really overwhelming and you tend to postpone like 90% of what you put on your goal list, then stick to 1-3 more for sure. So I typically don't have more than 1 goal for my quarter. It's usually bigger, requires lots of steps. And if I get it done, I will always have a backup. And sometimes I get to promote my backup up the ladder and sometimes I don't. So it'll be one of the ideal goals will be my backup for the most important and so on. The thought being, again, the most important goal will definitely be done and the ideal goals might be done. Everything else, probably not, but could potentially be done. So this is what it looks like for a month, right? So month 1, so 1-3 more. Remember that, again, you can always promote things, okay? So just make sure that you're forcing yourself to promote them through the process, though, as opposed to just putting like 4 or 5 things on your list that you're going to assume are going to get done, because that makes it really difficult to move through the system. So you can use this method to prioritize almost indefinitely, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. And we're going to assume the most important thing will be done as we plan the next stage. Ideal goals, probably, and then everything else, maybe. And remember that, like, it's okay if you feel like all of these things are important. They are going to get done, just we're prioritizing. Okay, so it's okay to be like, oh, but one of the things listed in others is super, super important to me. That's okay. It will get promoted, just not yet. And so if you're looking at planning your to-do list, here's a visual representation of what it looks like in a to-do list app. And if you follow the system, you're always going to have that top priority, the secondary priorities. And if you're consistently checking off that top priority, you're going to make leaps and bounds forward. I mean, the more consistently you begin to break down your own goals, the more consistently you'll be able to predict them. And that's very, very powerful, because you'll be able to predict whether they are doable, whether they're realistic, and when they can be done, right? So it creates a system that allows you to be really productive with a whole lot less stress. But I want to remind you again, no matter how well you plan, your car can break down, or, as actually happened to a friend of mine a couple of years ago, your identity can get stolen and you're spending all your time on the phone with the bank instead of working yourself through these lists. But if that happens, you know exactly what to do, right? Which is push your ideal goals further into the future, handle the emergency, handle the situation that's going on, and try to get something done on that most important goal to move it forward. Okay, that is the goal. There are tons of advantages of this system. No matter what happens, you will always be moving your business forward. It means that when you look back over your previous year, instead of, oh my God, I'm in the same place that I was in last year, right? You're always going to see that these clearly defined goals have been checked off. So progress will have been made no matter what happens. And as a reminder, there's one most important goal to the detriment of all else. So in theory, if you have 4 goals for each, like 1 goal per quarter, that means 4 things will be done every single year to move your business forward. And those can be really, really massive things. And it's also going to give you the flexibility to handle emergencies and move things around without feeling like you just failed yourself or failed your plans. And I'll be honest with you guys, I love being productive. I've got lists. I love systems like this one. And the more productive and organized you become, the more priorities you can add to each level. But the system itself is essentially the same. It just grows. So, when I finish things, sometimes I start feeling myself and I'm like, you know what, that was a piece of cake. I'm going to do like 10 times that. And shockingly, it doesn't always work out. And when that happens, I just return to the 1-3 more system. When I get too excited and add too many things and make too many things priorities, just 1-3 more, 1-3 more. Super easy, super solid, never fails me. So thank you guys so much for checking out my video. I hope this was helpful. Please do remember to give me a like on the video or a love and comment, and let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm happy to help you with your 1-3 more systems, whatever you've got, any questions, happy to answer. Coming up in future pieces of content, I will be talking about projects versus tasks. So this is really important. If you checked anything as super stressful or very overwhelming, this is going to be something you really want to pay attention to. Breaking down really big goals and projects into smaller pieces so they can actually be moved forward. To-do list management, and then putting your productivity on autopilot, which is always awesome. I love automation. So thank you guys so much. Have an amazing day, evening, afternoon, whenever you're watching this, and hopefully I will see you in the comments.